projects worth a combined 20.55 billion pesos. The latest approval brings the total number of PEZA board-approved projects to 169. That's slightly higher than the 148 projects approved a year ago. With the latest total amount, the Investment Promotion Agency is now on track to meet its 154 billion peso target for the entire year. The new projects are expected to have an export value of over $643 million and generate 5,500 jobs. Meanwhile, the Monetary Board also approved $2.7 billion of public sector foreign borrowings in the third quarter of this year. The latest figure is slightly lower than the $2.73 billion approved in the preceding quarter. However, it is significantly higher than the $178 million approved in the same period of last year. The Bangko Sentral says the borrowings will fund the national government's program on economic recovery, environmental protection, and climate resilience. Analysts warn that contributions by state-run banks to the Maharlika Investment Fund may threaten lenders' financial stability. Foundation for Economic Freedom President Calixto Chiquiamco says the Land Bank and Development Bank of the Philippines' capital contribution to the MIF may weaken their respective balance sheets. Chiquiamco also says that giving regulatory forbearance to the two lenders could erode the Bangko Sentral's moral standing on disciplining banks. Recall that the Land Bank and DBP contributed a total of 75 billion pesos as seed money for the MIF. Following the contribution, the DBP and Land Bank now seek regulatory relief from the BSP. Global Source Partners analyst and former BSP Deputy Governor Diwa Ginugunda explains this is crucial to keep their capital adequacy ratio from going below the Bangko Sentral's 10% regulatory requirement.
Humihingi maaari sila ng sapat na panahon upang magkaroon sila ng tinatawag na capital build-up. Ang ibig sabihin po ng capital build-up, bibigyan sila ng sapat na panahon ng Bangko Sentral upang palaguin muli nila yung kanilang kapital.
Let's get more insights on that from Alex Escucha, President of the Institute of Development and Econometric Analysis. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Diego.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Let's get right to it. The Maharlika operation set to begin in the first quarter of 2024. Now, is it too soon for the state lenders to be calling for capital relief?
Well, kailangan iwanagin muna natin exactly what capital relief means. And I just don't want to give an opinion. I want to give you facts. Okay. To make the long story short, as far as Land Bank is concerned, it has enough capital to meet the requirements even after giving their 50 billion contribution to the MIF. As of their audited statement, as of 2021, their 2022 is not yet published on the website kasi daw hindi pa tapos si COA.
Yes.
Their qualifying capital is 68 billion for a CET1 Tier 1 ratio of 11.68. And I'm sorry. I'm talking about Land Bank. Their capital is 210 billion.
Okay.
With a Tier 1 ratio of 15.45. If you deduct the 50 billion from the 210 billion, it goes down to 11.78. So they're still okay.
Okay.
The problem is really with the DBP side. Based on the published balance sheet of DBP, their capital is 77 billion.
Okay.
But 10 billion of that is actually a Tier 2 note which matures 10 billion maturing in November 2023, which is next month. So its real capital is only 68 billion.
Okay.
And its capital ratio is 11.68. If you deduct the 25 billion from that, then it will be at 7.43%, below the 10% requirement. Okay. Now, I did an analysis that if we combine the capital of Land Bank and DBP, overall, okay pa sila. They will drop from 15.81 to 11.61% on a combined basis. Assuming ma-merge sila, no? Combine
Yes.
mo yung capital nila at i-combine mo yung tinatawag na risk-weighted assets.
Okay.
So I think the comment that I have to look at these numbers to see if there's basis for saying you're undermining the stability of these banks. No, the short answer on a combined basis is no.
Okay. But sir, have you heard BSP Governor Remolona said both banks are still compliant with regulations even after remitting their contributions to Maharlika. Land Bank also
That's why-
said in a statement that it remains strong, adequately capitalized and compliant with regulatory requirements of the BSP. Now, do you agree, sir, with this, or are they trying to downplay the risks of non-compliance with capital requirements?
That's why I had to run the combined numbers for both.
Okay.
If you combine the numbers for both, the answer is yes.
Okay. But in what ways, sir, can the DBP and Land Bank catch up at this point so they can comply with capital requirements?
Well, there are two ways for you to bolster your capital, di ba? Number one, you get a capital infusion from the government, or number two, you keep making money, and instead of issuing that as dividends, then you just keep it so that it becomes an internally generated capital.
Okay.
Now, very few people may have read this, but in 2021, according to the audited financial statements, page 275 of the Land Bank, or 230 of the Land Bank audited statements, the national government actually infused 27.5 billion into Land Bank. No?
Okay.
So parang sinuli lang niya sa kumbaga yung the giving of the dividend of the capital to the national government for MIF is basically either nag-advance ka ng dividend,
Okay.
or we just gave back the capital that the government gave you, and then you will earn from it again. No. So the real problem in terms of regulatory relief, exactly what does that mean? For DBP, you're below 10% immediately after you sent the 25 billion.
Yes.
Okay? So what that means is that the BSP is basically giving you, okay, you can make the money and you will not be issuing dividends to the government, because under the GOCC Act, they're supposed to remit up to 50% of their net income to the national government.
So I don't know. Speaking about regulatory relief, I don't think I think you've heard Chikiamco warning that the giving of regulatory relief could erode the BSP's moral standing on disciplining banks. Now, sir, do you agree with this, or could this be treated as an isolated case since the subject naman is our first sovereign wealth fund?
Well, I don't know about the moral standing, because there have been a lot of private banks which fell below the requirement and were given time to build up their resources, because it simply means that I've seen private banks, for example, falling below that requirement, and the BSP would give them time to recover, but in the meantime, there are conditions attached to it. For example, you cannot add branches. Siyempre, you cannot add more loans, because that your capital cannot support it. But I'm sure that from a supervision and prudential perspective, hindi naman yung basta hahayaan na lang ng BSP like that, no? I'm sure there are certain prudential conditions attached to that. But to give context to that, I look at the financial statements of DBP. They have not been actually issuing dividends in the last few years.
Okay,
no?
okay.
And even Land Bank, the last dividend payment they gave was only 27 million, not billion. No. So land bank per se is good enough on its own, and even under a merger with the BP, on a combined basis, their capital ratios would still be at 11%.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your insights. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but definitely we'll be keeping in touch with you for more of your insights in our future shows. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Alex Escucha, President of the Institute of Development and Econometric Analysis. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Hello, Brian. Good morning.
Good morning, Diego.
Okay naman, malinaw?
Yeah, just a bit of a delay, but yes, you're coming clear.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Brian,
Strike. No long lines, but we're seeing, yes.
may bagong script ka daw. Did you receive it?
I'm sorry.
You have a new script daw that was sent to you. still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The transport strike of the group Manibela has commenced earlier today. Kumustahin natin ang lagay ng mga pasahero. We have on the line Brian Basa, or we have with us live Brian Basa reporting from Commonwealth. Brian, what's the situation there like?
Hi, Diego. We're standing here on the southbound lane in Commonwealth, and despite the transport strike, we can still see passengers getting to ride jeepneys that are not participating in the strike. Well, not the long lines we were expecting since Transport Group Manibela announced that strike last week. Now on that protest action, the Transport Group Manibela passed through this route earlier today. They lined up along Commonwealth Avenue after a demonstration inside the University of the Philippines, Diliman. They're at the LTFRB office to call out transport regulators for the alleged corruption in the board. They're also asking for the suspension of the December deadline for the POV modernization program. The group, however, clarifies they aren't against the program, but appeals that the government should instead examine it first. But as mentioned, not all jeepney drivers and operators joined this strike. In fact, just yesterday, major transport groups confirmed that they agreed with the government to still hit the roads today. At this hour, other means of public transport are also operating smoothly. They're available to passengers. We're talking about buses, taxis, TNVSs, motorcycle taxis, FXS, and also several agencies are on standby to offer free rides. These include the Quezon City government, the barangays, the MMDA, and the police. Back to you.
Thank you for that report. That was Brian Basa reporting to us live from the line from Commonwealth. Motorists may see mixed adjustments in the prices of fuel products in the coming days. UNIOL projects that prices of diesel would go down by up to 1 peso and 10 centavos per liter, while gasoline would be more expensive by as much as 60 centavos a liter. If these hold up, it would extend the reductions in diesel to a second straight week and end 3 consecutive weeks of rollbacks for gasoline. Oil companies will announce official price adjustments today, which will take effect the next day. Toll fee hikes of about 64 centavos per kilometer for the Subic-Clark Tarlac Expressway or SCTEX are set to take effect tomorrow. Class 1 vehicles like small cars and motorcycles traversing Mabalacat City in Pampanga to Tarlac will see a fee increase of about 25 pesos. Class 2 vehicles like small trucks and buses, meanwhile, will be charged an additional 50 pesos and 75 pesos for Class 3 vehicles or big trucks. Meanwhile, a 65 peso increase will be charged to Class 1 vehicles plying the end-to-end route. For Class 2 vehicles, they will be charged an additional 131 pesos, 196 pesos for Class 3 vehicles. SCTEX concessionaire North Luzon Expressway Corporation noted that the fare adjustments were earlier approved by the Toll Regulatory Board in August, but it opted to implement the first increase this month in light of inflation. And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.